Hey, how are you? Okay, here we are. Let's hope that the connection stays good. Hey, well, hello there. Just back from Boston, playing up at MIT, where I had a spectacularly great first gig with Allison Clancy. Superb young dancer, primo. I can't really say enough superlatives about Allison. She was just a great partner in crime for this performance. She is the principal dancer of the Metropolitan Opera. And right before lockdown, she did the longest solo dance in the Met history, dancing to the overture to Der Fliegende Hollander, The Flying Dutchman by Richard Wagner. So we hooked up shortly after my 40th anniversary show at Le Poisson Rouge. And she mentioned she was doing this dance up at MIT. And I said, oh, I love Wagner, and I've arranged quite a bit of Wagnerian music for solo guitar. So she invited me to work up an arrangement of the overture to The Flying Dutchman. And I've worked very hard on it, so we premiered it with her dancing to it. And it was a really great event. I'll tell you more about it. I'm going to play a version of it here right now. Well, okay. A world premiere. Well, the first time I've done it on the live stream, and well, it was something really, it was really something, because we had the best technicians and lighting people in this black box theater at MIT last night. Thank you, Dan Safer, for fixing that, arranging that, and his crew, whose names escape me right now, but I will recall them and give them a shout out next time. But I just had to get this down for posterity. But anyway, it's being further refined. It's about 10, 11 minutes in length. And we started with a soundscape solo. Allison made an entrance in the darkness. You know, I kind of went to town with creating the mood. Oh, and threw in a little bit of Mojo Pin in there. I didn't do it just now. But just to see if anybody, you know, was on their toes. Nobody seemed to notice that. I had in the audience Boston rock legend Rick Berlin, who is one of the luminaries from that scene. And I first saw Rick play, oh my God, it was in 1975. No. Summer of 74 at Preston's Airport Lounge in Nantucket, on a bill with the Chris Rhodes Band. Both these bands had fantastic lead guitarists. Chris Rhodes had David Landau, the brother of John Landau, the longtime Rolling Stone critic, who was an amazing guitar player. And Orchestra Luna, Rick's band, had Randy Ruse, who was, at that point, the greatest guitarist I've ever heard live. On an SG, he was somehow able to harness the energy of an SG and make it sound like a synthesizer, and just a phenomenal player. But he had a series of great guitarists. Anyway, Orchestra Luna that summer had just been signed to Epic Records. And my friend Susan Blond invited me to see them. She came to Nantucket with a guy who's become a dear friend of mine, Danny Fields, who's in London right now. And we bonded, certainly over these gigs. And the music was just so great. Orchestra Luna, I can't really describe them other than to say it was the most progressive musical mix of Broadway, cabaret, classical music, opera, music theater, jazz, rock, and everything in between, with spoken word interludes. A wonderful ensemble with Rick's sister, Lisa, and another singer, Liz. Again, another senior moment. I'll think of her name, but they morphed into, they had different ladies in the lineup the next time I saw them, which I guess was summer of '75 in New York, at Avery Fisher Hall. They had a showcase. And there, Carla DeVito, who went on to have a spectacular solo career herself, and also as Meatloaf singer on that critical Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell album. She was in the lineup, and they had a different guitarist. It was just amazing. They got better and better. And, you know, Peter Barrett, who was a dear friend of mine from Yale. Rick attended Yale. I didn't know him there. But he was a graduate, but he had, I don't know, what he was doing musical was just, it was one of the best nights of music every time I saw him with his groups. So original and fresh. And you can get Orchestra Luna's album. I believe it's come out on CD finally, if not here, then in Japan. It's not the greatest recording, I'm sad to say, but it's something. And then there are clips of them at CBGB's because Hilly Crystal, who booked CB's, loved them and had them down. They came down to play on bills with Talking Heads and Ramones, and they didn't quite fit into that early New York punk scene. They were just something else, really precious and spectacular, but different. And anyway, there are people who would say that David Byrne derived quite a bit of his shtick from Rick back in the day. Well, you know, you could say that. He definitely was an influential figure, and he's still going strong in Boston with a group called the Nickel and Dime Band. He's continued to release great work across the years, and he was there last night, so I gave him a shout out. It's great to see him. I think it was the first time I must have seen him since 40 years, let's say. I know that dates us both, but it's great to see people continuing to do great work on into what other people would say was an age where you weren't relevant to music or whatnot, the arts. And see, this is such a fallacy, because really it's music that's kept me young at heart. That's for sure. As I approach my 70th year, now June 20th, I'm going to turn 70. I can't lie to you, it's on Wikipedia. They won't let you fudge this stuff, so there it is for all to see. But really, do I care? Not really, because again, it's like music has kept me fresh and continues to do so. I feel renewed. It's like going to the well every time I play. And so certainly I felt that way last night, because so many people who had seen me at various stages of my career playing up in Boston were there and remarked on this and that, and you know, recalled. I put Wagner arrangements on acoustic guitar, on the '96 solo acoustic album Evangeline for Paradigm Records. There's a couple of Wagner pieces. John Schaefer, New Sounds, he was the first to premiere my Wagner work. And I did one night a concert at the old Knitting Factory with Dave Douglas and somebody else. doing classical music for New Classical magazine. Did Ride of the Valkyries. I recorded Ride of the Valkyries for Dutch National Radio, VPRO, in their studios in Amsterdam, and that is on a Tzaddik album of mine called Street of Lost Brothers. But there, in the liner notes I say, to defeat thine enemy, sing his song, or sing her song. I'm not sure where that great epigraph comes from, but it's, truer words were never spoken insofar as, by inhabiting this music and making it my own, and specifically for electric guitar, I was overriding all the bad Wagner himself generated with incredibly anti-Semitic screeds, the worst being On Judaism in Music, which is kind of a very repugnant document. But the paradox was he had quite a few Jewish enablers around him, conductors and whatnot in Germany, who overlooked this side of his craziness. But then, it's sad that the name is now synonymous with fascism. I don't want to dwell at this, but there is a group, a paramilitary organization, who are called the Wagner Group, who are a bunch of thugs in my estimation. But okay, well, let's not go there. Anyway, it was a great night for music, and Alice and I will surely do this again. It's too good not to, and I will play it a little more smoothly. I'm a little bit fried from, it was like a 4-hour train ride back today. And it's kind of cold in New York, and then Carol and I were enjoying Beau Geste on TCM, one of the classic, Gary Cooper, Ray Milland, Robert Preston, who later became the Music Man. A great story, remade many a time. There's a version with Telly Savalas, which is quite good, in color, that I saw once. But it still holds up, this William Wellman film. And now Lives of a Bengal Lancer. So I might want to catch a little bit of that. But I think Caroline has switched off to Mary Tyler Moore. All right, so now, what else can I take? Okay, well, I just got this through Amazon, and I'm quite looking forward to it. It's called Field Work in Ukrainian Sex by Oksana Zabushko. I'm sorry, I don't mean to mangle anybody's name. I gotta whip out my specs for this one. But she's considered the greatest living Ukrainian writer. She's a poet and a critic, and the reviews are spectacular. This is her first novel published in Ukraine in 1996, Field Work in Ukrainian Sex, unleashing a storm of controversy, propelling the author to national fame. She is one of the few authors in Ukraine and the only Ukrainian language writer to make a living exclusively from her writing. Now that is an achievement. And speaking of writing, okay, I have a new entry at culturecatch.com, my favorite website, run by my friend Mark Petrarca, aka Dusty Wright. And this is subtitled When Johnny Met Gary, or When Gary Met Johnny, and it's my encounter with Johnny Depp at Matt Umanov's guitar store, about 10, maybe 12 years ago. I might have told these stories here once upon a time, but there I put it down in writing for all to read, and check it out. I think it's a good one. I quite enjoy writing for this website. And well, there's other news too. I've got some more gigs that are pending, but right now there's a whole bunch of Jeff Buckley tribute gigs that I'm doing. The first being in Galway, Ireland, on May 28th, Saturday night, at The Loft. And I'm going to be hosting a couple of young Irish singers local to Galway. I don't know who they are yet, but they're refining the selection process. I should have that info soon. And the next night I'm doing it at Wayland in Dublin, where I played a couple of times. Solo, once with Peter Stanfill there. This is a really great, legendary folk singer-songwriter club that's quite well known in Ireland. And then I'm going to play in Paris with two great singers right now, Estelle Perrault, one of them, and another singer, a Haitian singer, who I have to get my notes to refer to, I'm sorry. But she's my Facebook friend now. I really like working with female singers, particularly on the Buckley stuff, because just by their very nature, they bring something fresh to the table. With a guy, it's a bit harder because just vocal is so emblazoned in their brains. But I found maybe more success with female singers because they can bring a gentle touch or a raucous touch or whatever, but they change it up a little bit better in my estimation. Then the next night, I'm playing in Dresden, Germany at the Tona Jazz Club with, again, 2 local singers. You have to consult my website to get the names here. I've not worked with any of these people before, but they were carefully selected by the clubs, and I look forward to working with them. After that, I'll be in Maastricht with Peter Willems, who is a great acoustic jazz bass player and a great vocalist. We have a new album called Double Dare that's out on the Zenez label and making noise. One of the best things I've done in a while, and it was mainly done during lockdown in the first year. So check that out. And then I'll be out in Hollywood. I'm going to come home and change my clothes and then hop on a plane with Caroline, and I'll be at the Peppermint Club with Alana Ubach, who's one of the star actresses in Euphoria, that very hot show with Zendaya. Did I pronounce that right? Caroline is up on. I've seen a couple episodes, and she's also a voice of Disney's Coco as a vocalist. She has a beautiful voice. And we're working on a second vocalist. That'll be at the Peppermint Club in Hollywood on Bloomsday, June 16th. I've got another tribute for July 28th at the Cutting Room here in Manhattan with my friend Francesco Arpino, flying in all the way from Rome for that gig. And I worked with him and Davide Combusti. Right before lockdown, we did a lengthy tour of Italy to promote a record called The Complete Jeff Buckley and Gary Lucas Songbook. Check that one out if you can locate it. But they're all available on my website. And then there's more on the way. I intend to do many more this year. So just stay tuned. Maybe I'll be coming close to a venue near you. Okay, and on that note, I will wrap it up. Thank you for tuning in. The radiator is hissing away. It's really cold in New York, I have to say. It was better in Boston, but then the wind really kicked up today. It was kind of a blustery day. I came down to nonstop rain here, and it's kind of chilly, but we're supposed to have a nice sunny day tomorrow, which should be nice. Thanks again for listening and watching. I'd love to play for you guys. Next week, Tuesday, same time, I'll be live, and Thursday, and then I'm going away for about a month of gigs in Europe. So I'm going to stop operations with a live stream, but I'll see you soon on the flip side, okay, and maybe live. Bye now. Love you guys.